Take Mr. Bloom if you're the only member here ready to present. Oh, wait. O'Donnell. Excuse me, you'll have to wait a second. Mr. O'Donnell, you're up. What's his bill number?
678.
AB 670. Item number 11.
678. Are you ready, Mr. Chair? Thank you. Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and committee members. Today I'm pleased to present AB 678, which provides funding for energy efficiency upgrades at public ports throughout the state of California. I'd like to start by accepting the amendments recommended by the committee, and I thank them for their work on this bill. The California maritime and goods movement industry has worked diligently to meet state emission and energy efficiency standards. The Port of Long Beach, for example, is nearing completion of more than $185 million worth of shore power infrastructure, while the Port of Oakland is undertaking a similar upgrade at a cost of $85 million, and that's for their dockside power hookups as well. It's electrifying their boats while they are docked. Despite these strides, further enhancement of existing port infrastructure is still needed to meet both existing and future demands. To meet these demands, we need to act as partners with the industry and deliver the state resources needed to ensure our local ports remain both competitive and green. AB 678 provides funding to our state ports so they can invest in energy efficiency projects, improve air quality around the ports, and continue their effort to be green. These investments will not only further reduce the environmental impacts associated with ports, but have the potential to lower port operating costs, resulting in improved competitiveness and job growth. And with me here today is Mike Jacob with the Pacific Merchant Shipping Association.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members. Mike Jacob with PMSA. And just to be very brief, we view this as a real potential win-win. The goals of improving sustainability at our ports and improving economic competitiveness do not need to be mutually exclusive propositions. If you're making strategic investments, we'd like the opportunity to make those investments and offset, as the Assembly member said, significant increases in our power profile, which once we're fully implemented with our cold ironing regulations could be reasonably between 25 and 50 additional megawatts of consumption a day. So we'd like to be able to offset that through greater efficiencies and renewable resources development on site. So thank you for consideration.
Other witnesses in support?
Mr. Chair and members, Erin Niemela representing the Infill Builder Federation. Want to echo what the sponsor said. We believe this is a terrific way to improve the economic competitiveness of our ports and also lower GHG. Thank you.
Dennis Albiani, on behalf of California Grain and Feed and Almond Hullers and Process Association. We use the ports. We ship out. We also ship in. Quite a bit of our feed comes from international sources. So anything that makes the ports work better and cleaner, we support. Thank you.
Mr. Chair and members, Tim Schott on behalf of the California Association of Port Authorities, which is comprised of the 11 commercial publicly owned ports. We don't have an official position on the bill yet, but we are very interested in energy efficiency. A lot of focus on energy right now at the ports with greatly increasing demand, and we look forward to working with the Assembly member as the bill moves forward.
Thank you. Anyone else speaking in support? Speaking in opposition? Seeing none, we'll bring it back to the members. Do I have a motion? I have a motion by Mr. Wood, second by Garcia. Did you accept the committee's amendments?
Yes, I did.
Okay. It's due pass to appropriations with the amendments. To transportation, excuse me.
Assemblymember Williams? Dolly?
Aye.
Dolly, aye. Garcia? Aye. Garcia, aye. Hadley? Harper? McCarty? Rendon? Stone? Wood? Wood, aye. It's got 3.
You got 3. It's on call, assuming you won't have any troubles when they get back.
Thank you. Thank you.
Assemblymember Levine.
Oh.
You trump him. I like that. Okay.
Item number 14.
Item number 14. AB 761. Mr. Levine.
Thank you, Mr. Dolly and members. I'm pleased to present AB 761, which creates a $50 million grant program to evaluate the potential of management practices on agricultural lands, ranches, and rangelands to increase carbon sequestration and water retention. I want to thank the committee staff for their thoughtful analysis and would be happy to accept the suggested amendments in comments 5 and 6 on page 4 of the analysis. Initial research out of Marin and Yuba counties by UC Berkeley researchers in partnership with the Marin Carbon Project has found tremendous potential for best agriculture and rangeland soil management practices to sequester carbon and improve water retention. Those results indicate that agricultural lands could remove 3 years' worth of annual state greenhouse gas emissions and reduce our water needs by 1/5 with simple changes in agricultural land management. But that research is just a prospect of what is possible, and it makes sense for us to learn if those results can be reproduced and scaled across the state. Wisely, that research specifically calls for further evaluation. To put the $50 million in context, we are currently bringing in over $1 billion a year from cap and trade. Some estimates predict that number will rise to $5 billion. Additionally, the voters passed a $7.5 billion bond last November. Conservatively speaking, as a state, we're going to spend $20 billion over the next decade to address climate change and water. The $50 million in this bill would represent 0.25% of those funds. This could be the low-hanging fruit that will go a long way toward curbing the effects of climate change and reduce water needs. It only makes sense for us to find out if we have a tool that will address the 2 most pressing problems in the state in a simple fashion and in a way that preserves, protects, and supports agriculture. With me today in support of the bill are Tori Estrada and Dr. Jeffrey Creek of the Carbon Cycle Institute. Dr. Creek is also available to answer technical questions. And with me as well is Justin Oldfield from the California Cattlemen's Association.
Thank you for having me. Again, my name is Tori Estrada. I'm with the Carbon Cycle Institute, and we're based in Sonoma County. I also serve on the Marin Carbon Project Steering Committee. As the Assemblyman mentioned, the Marin Carbon Project's research and on-the-ground deployment of carbon farming established that working lands, that's both croplands and rangelands, can be managed in ways that sequester carbon and also reduce greenhouse gas emissions, helping the state meet its ambitious climate change goals. Carbon farming includes practices such as compost application, river and riparian restoration, windbreaks, cover crops, and many other practices. These practices not only have carbon and climate benefits, but they also have additional co-benefits, including increasing the ability of soil to hold water, enhance resilience of our working lands to climate change and drought, wildlife habitat enhancement, increase land productivity, and also increase economic viability. In California, there is existing infrastructure in place already to deliver on-farm conservation and climate practices like these. They're supported by the U.S. Department of Agriculture, UC Cooperative Extension, California Department of Food and Ag, and Department of Conservation, working through institutions on the grounds like resource conservation districts, land trusts, open space districts, in partnership with farmers to put these practices in play. AB 761 establishes a grant program to fund demonstration programs across the state in different climates, soil types, and different kinds of working lands to further demonstrate the benefits of carbon farm planning. This is the first kind of its effort in California to engage working lands in climate change. We support the bill enthusiastically and thank the author for his work to support land management practices that sequester carbon and reduce greenhouse gas emissions. And again, my colleague, Dr. Jeff Creek from the Carbon Cycle Institute, is here to answer any technical questions you have. Thank you.
Committee's practices each witness 2 minutes.
Yes, sir.
Go ahead, sir.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair and members of the committee. Justin Oldfield with the California Cattlemen's Association. I will make my remarks brief. Just want to thank Assemblymember Levine for bringing this bill forward. California ranchers provide numerous environmental benefits, one of which is carbon sequestration. We are very interested in furthering projects that will look at improving the ecological health of our rangelands, and we think that this bill will go a far or long way in helping to do that. We've taken some look at some of the initial data coming back, and not only do we see definitely improved carbon sequestration, soil carbon sequestration benefits, but just with some of the practices, again, as it was noted, water retention in our rangelands, given the state of the drought that we're going through and the immense impact it's had on our industry. When we can look at practices that not only provide for environmental benefits, but also provide for benefits on the production side as well. Those are very, very beneficial. So, again, we thank Mr. Levine for bringing this forward, and we urge your support. Thank you.
So motion by Stone, second by Wood. Please proceed with the two other witnesses.
Justin Malone for stopwaste.org in support of the bill.
Kim Shire with the California Compost Coalition in support. Thank you.
Katrina Robinson on behalf of Cal Trout, Land Trust of Santa Cruz County, and Audubon in support.
Nick Lapis with Californians Against Waste. We actually have not sent in a letter, but we're strongly supportive of the concepts in the bill, and we hope to work with the member on this as we move forward. It's clear, based on the research that's been done at the Marin Carbon Project, that there's a significant opportunity to both cut greenhouse gases and actually sequester carbon in rangelands and in other crop types. Thank you.
Sylvia Solis on behalf of the City and County of San Francisco in support.
Kelly Ditto on behalf of California League of Conservation Voters in support.
Good afternoon, Amy Trainer, West Marin Environmental Action Committee. We submitted the sign-on letter in support. We always think it's a great day when the environmental community and the agricultural community can come together and agree, and we thank Assemblymember Levine for his leadership.
Kelly Jensen on behalf of Recology in support of the bill.
Any witnesses in opposition? Any witnesses with testimony neither in support nor opposition?
Mr. Chair, members of the committee, good afternoon. Brian Nowicki with the Center for Biological Diversity. Taking a look at the amendments offered by the committee, looking forward to being able to review our position and hopefully remove our opposition to the bill. There's lots of very interesting and exciting things happening in this arena, with the potential for soil carbon amendment through the application of compost, and we're very much hoping to see more of that happening. There's lots of different benefits that can be coming down to the different applications, and one of the main things that I was hoping that the committee would take into consideration, and also they've talked with the author's office about, is the opportunity to make comparisons in the benefits that we get from the various applications. And in order to do that, we need more than just a project, a program where we're basically giving money to fund these various projects. We also need a process by which we are monitoring and then making evaluations of the various benefits, greenhouse gas, environmental, and that we get from these various types of applications. And of course, that takes resources, and I don't see that those criteria are yet explicitly laid out in the bill that we would be able to return back the information to make meaningful policy determinations at the end of it. Very much look forward to working with the author's office and believe that this bill can and should get there. But that's the basis of my opposition now. Thank you.
Thank you. To the committee. Questions? Comments? There, I suppose some of what was mentioned is attempted to be addressed in the amendments. The amendments name the division carbon sequestration on working lands and prioritize carbon farm planning for awarding project grants. And I won't go through all of them, but they also prioritize projects with the greatest amount of carbon benefits. I've been very excited about the rangeland work. I do think it's a logical extension of what should be a strong alliance between environmentalists and cattlemen and women. There's lots of environmental benefits to rangeland, to properly managed rangeland, and this just enhances that potential, and there's probably no other place besides Marin where that's more important than Santa Barbara County. And so the chair's recommendation is aye with committee amendments. It's due pass to Water Parks and Wildlife would be the motion. Any other comments from the committee? Would you like to close?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I respectfully ask for an aye vote.
Mr. Jolly.
I was just going to say, I believe I was the only member that came and actually sat through your presentation, and I'm going to vote for it today. I do get to see it again in Water Parks and Wildlife. I'm interested in, not just the rangeland, but also in regular tillage farming where we could do good composting too. So just a thought.
Well, I just want to say thank you, Mr. Dolly. Thanks for attending the brown bag lunch that we did, and I think you're absolutely accurate in that it's much broader than just rangeland. It's agriculture in general, and I don't know if it's going to get rough passage over in Water Parks and Wildlife or not, but with your leadership, we might be able to have some smooth waters.
That's right.
Please call the roll.
Assemblymember Williams?
Aye.
Williams, aye. Dolly? Aye. Dolly, aye. Garcia? Hadley?
Aye.
Hadley, aye. Harper? McCarty? Rendon? Stone?
Aye.
Stone, aye. Wood? Wood, aye.
You have 5 votes. Your bill is out.
Thank you so much.
Mr. Bloom, you've been waiting there for a long time. While you're there, do we have a motion on consent? We have not handled consent. Second. Motion and a second. Please call the roll on consent calendar. Motion by Stone, second by Dolly. Oh, yeah. The bills that are on consent, item 8, 417 by Dolly, item 15, AB 815 by Ridley Thomas, and item 27, AB 1179 by Rendon.
Assemblymember Williams?
Aye.
Williams, aye. Dolly?
Aye.
Dolly, aye. Garcia? Hadley?
Aye.
Hadley, aye. Harper? McCarty? Rendon? Stone?
Aye.
Stone, aye. Wood? Wood, aye. Got 5 votes.
Consent calendar is out. Mr. Bloom.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members. I'm here today to present AB 888. This is a measure to protect our waterways and oceans from the harmful effects of plastic microbeads contained in many common personal and cosmetic products.
Mr. Stone has moved, and I will second.
Thank you. And this committee heard the bill last year as AB 1699, which made it through this committee. Others made it through the Assembly floor, through Senate committees, and then by one vote didn't make it on the Senate floor. So we're back this year for another try, and even if we're not in the news every day, we know that water is a precious resource, and that's here obviously in California and globally, and we have to do everything we can to protect our water from environmental degradation. In the end, polluted waters only come back to harm us. When a source of environmental pollution is clearly identified, as plastic microbeads have been, it is critical that we act swiftly before the problem becomes more costly to both our pocketbooks and the environment. We have the opportunity to do that with this bill. Microbeads are gentle exfoliants that are added to numerous personal care products, including shampoos, soaps, and toothpastes. Consumers using products containing plastic microbeads are washing down the drain what many once thought were harmless consumer waste, but research has indicated that wastewater treatment plants are unable to filter out plastic microbeads, and as a result, the plastic beads are passing through sewage systems and eventually enter our waterways, both freshwater and ocean, where the plastic microbeads can absorb and or leach out toxic chemicals. Plastic microbeads are then consumed by marine life in many cases and passed along the aquatic food chain. Plastic microbeads are not biodegradable, and once they enter the marine environment, they are impossible to remove and are a significant source of environmental degradation. Recognizing the urgency of the research showing that these microbeads are an environmental problem, many companies who use microbeads in their products have a pledge to phase them out and use natural existing alternatives such as apricot shells and cocoa beans. The negative environmental impacts of plastic microbeads are already apparent, and we have the opportunity to come together and agree to use alternatives and ensure that removing the plastics from personal care products is across the boards for everyone, so there's a level playing field for all products. We have the momentum and the goodwill to phase out plastic microbeads now, and we should. My staff and sponsors, I want to point out, are working very closely with industry and opposition, as we did for much of the last year. And we believe that I should say it appears as though we've reached consensus with all parties in terms of intention, and we've got an in-person meeting planned next week to discuss amendments. I'm very optimistic that we are close to having a bill that both sides can live with. I have here with me today Jessica Gouger from the California Association of Sanitation Agencies, Chelsea Lockman, a scientist from UC Davis, and Sue Vang from Californians Against Waste to speak in favor of the bill.
Mr. Chair and members, Jessica Gauger on behalf of the California Association of Sanitation Agencies, here in strong support and as a co-sponsor of this bill. Our membership is comprised of the major wastewater treatment agencies in California, who combined serve over 90% of the sewered population and are charged with protecting the environment and public health for the communities that we serve. Plastic microbeads are washed down the drain as part of their intended use and do not break down in the wastewater stream. They're also neutrally buoyant, so they can slip through the ordinary wastewater treatment processes that depend on sediments to sink to the bottom or float to the top to be removed. Therefore, plastic microbeads can be discharged into California's waterways, and as Assemblymember Bloom and my colleagues will explain, can be detrimental to the aquatic environment. There are some wastewater treatment plants that do have more advanced treatment systems that can remove microbeads, but that ability is really an ancillary benefit of the plants upgrading their treatment systems to meet stringent waste discharge requirements, or where they're reclaiming the wastewater for recycling purposes. The cost to upgrade all wastewater treatment plants to be able to filter out microbeads is unknown, would likely be very high, and would ultimately be the burden of local ratepayers. In this case, CASA believes the best solution is source control, making sure that microbeads are not introduced to the wastewater stream in the first place, which is proposed by AB 888. For these reasons, we would urge your aye vote, and would also like to thank Assemblyman Bloom for his leadership on this issue.
Chairman Williams, honorable members of the Assembly. My name is Dr. Chelsea Rockman. I am a researcher at the Aquatic Health Program at the University of California, Davis. I'm an ecotoxicologist, which means that I research how contaminants in the environment affect wildlife. And I have been researching the sources, the fate, and the effects of plastic debris since 2008. My own research has demonstrated that plastic debris of the same size, shape, and type of many types of microbeads can transfer hazardous chemicals to fish and cause toxic effects. I'm here today to represent about 50 researchers at the Society of Conservation Biology. Together, we produced a policy brief, which I presented to you today, which states that there is enough scientific evidence regarding the fate, persistence, and hazards of microbeads to support, or of microplastics, to support banning microbeads from personal care products. Many of you have likely heard about plastic debris, the issues of plastic debris, and have heard of the large accumulations in the middle of the oceans. I've been there. I used to do work focusing in the open ocean, but when I saw that the majority of the material is less than 5 millimeters in size, smaller than your pencil eraser, which is what we're talking about today, I realized you cannot go out there and clean up the plastic confetti, so you really have to cut it off at the source. So I see AB 888 as an opportunity for California to take leadership to mitigate plastic pollution. It provides a simple solution to a global problem. Stopping plastic microbeads from entering our watersheds will help our own water quality, our wildlife, and the resources used by ourselves, including seafood and safe drinking water. Today's plastic microbeads are persistent. When they enter our watershed, they may remain there as plastic pollution for my entire lifetime, my children's lifetime, and potentially even longer than my grandchildren's lifetime, and thus be bioavailable to wildlife, including some that I myself consider as seafood. I strongly support AB 888 because it cuts plastic debris off at the source, preventing plastic microbeads from entering our watersheds and traveling through critical habitat for wildlife and reservoirs for our drinking water and our seafood. I respectfully ask for your aye vote, and I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Mr. Chair and members, Sue Vang with the environmental group Californians Against Waste. We're pleased to be one of the sponsors of this bill this year. This bill will greatly reduce the plastic microbead pollution in our waters and the environmental and health hazards associated with it. Plastic microbeads are often added to personal care products such as facial scrubs, soaps, and toothpaste. A single product can contain as much as 350,000 plastic microbeads, and scientists estimate that 417 million plastic beads are released in the San Francisco Bay Area alone each day. plastic microbeads annually contribute 38 tons of plastic pollution to California's environment, and as you heard from previous testimony, they are not generally captured in wastewater systems. Plastic microbeads collect persistent organic pollutants and are toxic sponges in the oceans that can contaminate our food chain. As another potential human health hazard, plastic microbeads used in toothpaste have been known to get stuck in a person's gums, which can then collect bacteria and lead to periodontal disease. AB 888 would address the problem through direct source reduction and favor environmentally sustainable and biodegradable alternatives such as apricot shells and cocoa beans, and we urge your support. Thank you.
Other witnesses in support, just come on up, state your name, organization, and your support.
Kim Schreider with Heal the Bay in support. Thank you.
Katrina Robinson with Ocean Conservancy in support.
Amy Trainer with the Westburn Environmental Action Committee in support. Thank you.
Blake Kopshaw with the Five Gyres Institute. We're a co-sponsor and in support. Thank you.
Justin Malone with the California Association of Environmental Health Administrators in support.
Kelly Ditto on behalf of California League Conservation Voters in support.
Kyle Jones, Sierra Club California in support.
Jason Schmelzer on behalf of the City and County of San Francisco and Mayor Ed Lee in support.
Sylvia Sulisha on behalf of City of Los Angeles Mayor Eric Garcetti in strong support.
Brian Nowicki, Center for Biological Diversity, in strong support.
Andrea Ventura with Clean Water Action. We're also a co-sponsor and obviously in strong support.
Dr. Sarah Cross from the Society of Conservation Biology in strong support.
Steve Wilson from the Story of Stuff Project, also a co-sponsor in strong support.
Witnesses on opposition?
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair and members of the committee. Amy Jenkins on behalf of the Personal Care Products Council. We are presently opposed to AB 888 unless amended. We have been working with the author and appreciate his consideration of our proposed amendments, which would add language to the definition of plastic microbeads. The cosmetics and personal care products industry has been a longstanding has a longstanding commitment to global environmental stewardship. Our companies are constantly innovating their products based on the best available science and market trends. And as the author indicated previously, the industry has moved quickly to address public concerns about the use of plastic microbeads. In fact, many personal care product companies have voluntarily committed to discontinuing formulation of using synthetic plastic microbeads in favor of other natural alternatives. In 2014, the industry, working with the environmental community, passed landmark legislation in Illinois that will ban the use of plastic microbeads in rinse-off personal care products after December 31st, 2018. The Illinois model has since been replicated in 3 other states, and the industry continues to advocate for similar legislation to be enacted throughout the U.S. Our specific concerns with AB 888 involve its scope. We specifically believe the definition of plastic microbead goes beyond a ban of microbeads in personal care products and would create legal uncertainty for the industry and also leave interpretations of the definition and what is covered up to the courts. We have communicated our concerns with the author and the sponsors, as the author indicated, and remain hopeful that we can continue to discuss a mutually agreeable resolution going forward.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members. Dawn Kepke with McHugh Kepke & Associates on behalf of the California Manufacturers and Technology Association. We greatly appreciate the Assemblyman, the author's comments regarding being close, that the intentions are fairly well aligned. Our member companies have been those members, or those companies that have committed to completely eliminating the traditional plastic microbeads that are the concern resulting in this legislation. And so we also are in an opposing unless amended position on this bill. Would echo the comments made by Ms. Jenkins for the Personal Care Products Council and believe that we should be able to make some headway and find a mutually agreeable outcome on this. The concern really ultimately comes back to the technicalities of what is considered a plastic microbead. From an engineering standpoint, in talking with our engineers that are looking at formulations and what alternatives can be used, plastic is much broader than the traditional plastic that is the concern for these types of products. So when engineers are looking at formulations, when they talk about plastic, they're talking about anything that can be molded, extruded, formed. So that could incorporate beeswax and other natural-based substances. And in talking with the author, he's indicated that that's not his intent. And so really we believe it comes down to the technicalities of the language, and we'll continue to work with his office, his staff, and the sponsors to hopefully bridge that issue and hopefully be able to address that. Our intent is indeed to eliminate those traditional plastic microbeads that are the concern that has brought this forward, and we look forward to continuing to work with the author, sponsors, and staff. Thank you.
Mike Rogie with the International Fragrance Association of North America, in opposition unless amended. Thank you.
Terry Thomas on behalf of the Consumer Healthcare Products Association. We're the manufacturers of over-the-counter products, and we're also opposed unless amended for the reasons previously stated.